What's up everybody, Sam Smyers here. Today I want to show you how to make a selected style deep house track, and in order to do that I'm going to be going through my song I Don't Mind. By the end of this video you should better understand what sounds to use, how to structure out one of these tracks, and basically just how to build out the entire thing. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let me first play you some sections of this track.
I don't know why I do the things that I do, but I know I always end up with you. Don't know why I lose myself in your gaze. What a shame. See, I try and I waste all my time staying away, but one touch and I'm back in your control. All that I know is I like the way we hurt me and you. Yeah, every time it feels like it's new. You're killing me with every move, but it's fine, I don't mind. I like the way the scars are so deep. You have a way of ruining me. You're killing me with every move, but it's fine, I don't mind. It's fine, I don't mind.
All right, so there you have it. I played about a minute or so and a half all the way from the beginning to the drop and then to the next verse. So now let's go ahead and dive into it. What I usually do to figure out how to structure out one of these songs, I'll find a reference song that I like and figure out where they're putting the verses, where they're putting the drops, and then I'll mark it out in my session. So you can see that I have these markers here. For this marker here at the end, I like to put the key and the BPM, and this is just good to always keep you reminded what the key is in case you're prone to forget that type of stuff. I always forget what the key is, especially if I come back to a session after a few weeks, I might forget what the key is. So that helps a lot. And then we have the verses, the build-ups, the drops, this little after drop part, and then build up, drop, drop. So I just structured out like that with the markers, and that helps me build out the track. When I have a 8-bar loop or something like that, that usually helps me to get it into a full track, is just to start structuring it out by using a reference track. Let's take a look at some of the chords of this verse here. And that is layered with this Medusa style chord. And that's more of an analog saw wavy style of chord. And also credit to Midnight Purple because he's the one who gave me this demo and he made these chords and these really cool sounds. So a lot of these sounds he also made as well. So altogether, these are layered. Let's go ahead and check those out. And so as you can hear, I have some automation going on, so we can check that out. I believe I have this automating. So yeah, the automation here, we're just taking up that high cut there. And that's a good way to make your verses sound more interesting, is just to automate a high cut so that it's more filtered during the beginning, and then it starts to release that filter as you get through that verse and into the build-up section or the pre-chorus. And so we have this omnisphere pad here. And that just builds up. And then down here we have this lead sound. And to create this first effect here, that's going to be an LFO on a filter, and usually you can do that in Serum. Let's go ahead and check out all of the instruments now for that part. And there you can hear that lead sound coming in. We also can hear the strings coming in, the high strings. This is pretty typical of deep house, using this one note high string sound that adds tension throughout the whole track. And all together. And we've got some other atmospheres in the beginning here, just to really add some texture to that part. Let's go ahead and check out some of the instruments in the drop now.
All that I know is I like the way we hurt me.
I have these chords here that we made in Serum. And then just little pluck accents here. A little LFO chord fill. Using LFOs on a filter is really common in Deep House, and you can usually do this in Serum. You can make some really cool LFO effects if you just use it to modulate your high cut filter. And then we have this atmosphere here. And I have this rhythm saw. Just one note playing this rhythm here, and I bounced it down to audio so I could see what it was doing. A little ear candy effect here. And then we have an ARP, and I like to use ARPs in the background, filter off the top end, and then automate the filter as you get further on into the drop. And that's all that ARP is doing. We have a lead here, playing some melodies. And then we have these leads down here. Let's check these out. I bring the strings back in during the second part of this drop here. I have another winding down effect. And let's go ahead and check and make sure that is everything in the instrument part. And let's go ahead and just solo the instruments again. Check them out. So in Deep House, automation is going to be your friend, automating a lot of filters, just being really creative with the movement in the track by just automating different things. So then for that second verse part, we just have some more atmospheres using a lot of the same chords, sounds from that first verse. So let's go ahead and check out these strings and atmospheres and then all together. And as you can hear, we bring in more drums just to add some more energy to that second verse. So that about does it for all the instruments. You really have to get creative. A lot of these synths are all created in Serum. And if you do want to use any of these sounds that I have in here, then you can find most of these sounds in my Serum preset packs. And I'll put a link down below for you to check those out. Let's go ahead and check out the bass now. So now for the first verse, there is no bass.
I don't know why I do the things that I do.
Aside from what is being added from all of those chord stabs. For the buildup, I have a sub, almost like an 808 bass. And then I bring it back in the verse. I'm actually going to relabel this verse.
Can't depend on you to catch when I fall.
So there you can hear what the bass is doing. And now let's go ahead and check out the drop bass. The drop bass is going to be made up of a sub, and then we've got a bouncy pluck bass, and then a growl bass. This is going to be the growl bass here, and what I did is I actually sidechained the growl bass with the bounce bass so that that bounce bass could come through and add some bounce, and it wasn't going to clutter up or muddy up that low end too much. So if you do have multiple bass sounds, then figure out a way that you can minimize the mud. So maybe figuring out one bass is going to be the low end, one bass is going to be the mid end, one bass is going to be the high end, and just separate them with using EQ or sidechaining like I did here. So let's go ahead and check out the bass in the track now.
Like the way we hurt me and you. Yeah, every time it feels like it's new. You're killing me with every move.
And that's without the bass. Let's go ahead and put it back in. And then I'll always process my bass group, usually putting on a compressor, a Pro Q, and then I've got an EQ8 with some automation going on there. I'm going to briefly show you my effects group. For effects are just going to be risers, white noise effects. You can just throw a lot of them in and then figure out which ones work and then take them out as you begin figuring out the whole track and producing it further on. So these are really just risers and white noise effects. I don't really need to go into them very deeply. We can just check them all out here. Just uplifters, crashes, things like that. So nothing too crazy with the effects. And here's a crash here. Pretty basic. So that's my effects group, and let's go ahead and head on to the drums. Now for the processing for the drums, just have a compressor on there, the drums group, and that's it. For this kick, have a nice deep house kick. And usually for my kick, what I'll do is make sure to cut off the end here, just make sure that it fits within the grid. So here I probably went like that and just chopped off if the tail was a little bit longer. So just make sure that you shape your kicks and they're not too long. Otherwise, the bass might occupy up a lot of space in your track. So I have that kick, and then I also have like a rhythm kick here just to give almost like a bit of a fill. Like that here, and let's check that out in the track.
But it's fine.
Because there's actually going to be a space in the bass there, so the bass cuts out and then you have that rhythm kick. And that's just like a cool little fill thing. So, and then we have some fills here. Let's check out this clap fill. Like that. And then that happens again later on the track. So we can check out the clap. Pretty basic clap, and I'll use a different clap for the build-ups or verses. Maybe something that is a bit milder or has a bit more filtering going on, and then something a bit more intense for the drop that needs to stand out more. These are going to be some things that I add in the build-up here. Just a snare roll and a hi-hat. So here I have the clap, I have the snare, I have the hi-hat, and I also have these shakers here. And that's all that I have in the beginning of this first verse.
I don't know why I do the things that I do.
And it's pretty far back in the mix, that shaker, but it just adds some nice movement. And then I have this hat here. So altogether, all the drums in that build-up part. And so usually the first time that I hit a drop in a deep house song, I'll just have the kick or the kick and the clap. And that's essentially what I do here. You'll only hear the kick.
Like the way we hurt me and you. Yeah, every time it feels like
And then we bring in the clap.
I like the way the stars are so deep.
Along with some nice hi-hats, and these are going to be the hi-hats here. And then I have these rhythms here. Kind of random sounds.
Like the way the stars are so deep. You have a way of ruining me.
And then I bring in some more shakers in that second part. Here's a 16th note hat here. So let's check out all the drums together now. So now the second time that you hit a drop, you can bring more energy to that second drop. And so that's what I did for that second drop. Instead of just having the kick in there, I bring in more elements. So let's go ahead and check out how this second drop sounds.
All that I know is I like the way we hurt me and you. Yeah, every time it feels like it's new.
We hear some additional synths. I have a kick build up there. So there's more energy in this second drop. And then the last part section here.
Like the way the stars are so deep. You have a way of ruining me. You're killing me with every move.
Just keeping that energy going. And then we have a little outro section here. Where we're taking some elements from the earlier parts of the track and just putting them in there with lots of reverb and some really cool vocal effects and making a nice outro sound. So now let's go ahead and check out the vocals. For the vocals, I have a VC160, and then also I'm using the Pro Q3 on my group here. And let's go ahead and break down these vocals. So let me play you this lead vocal.
I don't know why I do the things that I do, but I know I always end up with you.
So lots of reverb. I actually tuned these in Melodyne before, and then I also like to put on autotune on top of it to smooth out any other notes that might be a bit off. And then also autotune has a unique sound to it as well. Then I have a 1176 style compressor, a LA2A style compressor, and then I'm using this preamp style effect from Arturia. I guess it's like a preamp modeler, and some Pro Q3 decapitator, Air Windows D-Best, it's like a de-esser, and then the Fab Filter Pro QDS. And these are going to be the reverbs. So I have a pretty short reverb with a Valhalla plate, then a Hall reverb, which is going to be a Fab Filter Pro R. Then we got the clean signal, nothing on that. And then I have a half note delay, which I'm automating. And let's check out the automation there. So there we can see the automation. I'm bringing it in during the drops. So what I like to do is I like to add these reverb tails at the end of phrases or notes. And for that, I'll just copy and paste part of a word or something and then put a lot of reverb on it on a second track and some echoes. So let's check these out. And now with that lead vocal.
Do, but I know I always end up with you. Don't know why I lose myself in your gaze. What?
And then here's another effect here. Almost like a build up before the drop.
All that I know is that
And now let's check out the vocals in the drop here.
I don't like.
So you can hear lots of effects going on. I upped that auto tune, got the auto tune pretty heavy because I liked the effect there. And this one,
I don't like.
I'm using quite a lot of decapitator, lots of delay, and lots of reverb on that sound. And below that is it pitched down an octave, and then it pitched up an octave. And so once again, all together, that sounds like this.
I don't like.
And then I did have this low vox effect, which was just the lead pitched down an octave, but I didn't end up using it. So I'm actually going to delete that. I've got some reverse vocal effects. You should know how to do reverse vocals. These are nice to add in between different sections as a type of transition. Like that.
I don't mind.
And then just lots of little ear candy things.
I don't mind. I like the way it starts.
Have a little ad lib here. And for a lot of her ad libs and backgrounds, I thought they sounded really cool with a lot of auto-tune on them to give it this almost R&B hip hop vibe. Like that one's pretty cool.
But my heart, it doesn't listen at all. Keep on hoping you're.
So you can hear those ad libs are very auto-tuned and have a lot of effects on them. And now let's check out the verse doubles here.
Like the way the skies are so deep.
And now for my doubles, a lot of times I'll cut out the S sounds.
Like the way the skies are so deep.
So that's what I did there. And they're pretty dry because I have so many effects, so much reverb and so much delay on that lead vocal that I didn't really feel like I needed to add anything on those doubles. And so not too much processing on those doubles there. You can see I have a Pro C2, a Fab Filter Pro Q3, and then a Pro DS. And then let's check out the harmonies. I have the same type of processing.
Like the way the skies are so deep.
And it sounds weird listening to them alone like that without the S's.
Like the way the skies are so deep. You have a way of ruining me.
But if you have a singer that has particularly sibilant S sounds, like in this case, then it really helps to cut out the S sounds from backgrounds, or if you're trying to get a really bright vocal sound, because altogether it will sound normal, like it will sound like there is an S sound because I'm leaving it in that lead vocal.
Like the way the skies are so deep.
And you can hear her S is almost pretty sharp already, so I didn't want to add too much more S sounds to her S's.
Like the way the skies are so deep. You have a way of ruining me. You're killing me with every move. But it's fine, I don't mind. I don't mind. It's fine, I don't mind.
So those are some of the vocals, and I have quite a bit more effects at the ending here.
I don't mind. It's fine.
Like I have this one that pans back and forth, which is really cool. So yeah, what's cool about Deep House is that it's usually pretty bass heavy and you can add a lot of effects to your vocals. You could fill them with a lot of reverb, add a lot of ear candy things, like just experiment with your vocals really. That's usually what I do. I just chop up a lot of different parts and experiment, and you can get away with some interesting sounds if you just focus on manipulating your vocals and try to make something cool with your vocals. So now let's go on to the master. So for the master, I have a solid bus compressor. For my compressor, I'm using the K-Clip 3 for some soft clipping, and then the Ozone 9 exciter to add some excitement. And I usually turn this oversampling on, but just for this walkthrough, I turn it off so that my CPU wouldn't be going crazy. But that just adds some nice excitement to the track. Then a Pro Q3 and just some very minimal little boosts and cuts there. And then the SPL Vitalizer, which I just used to add some stereo expansion. Just turning this knob up here. And then, of course, the Fab Filter Pro L2. And I usually have the oversampling at 4 to 8, but I turn that off just for this walkthrough so that my CPU wouldn't be going crazy. So there you have it. That is how I made my song, I Don't Mind. Hopefully this helps you understand more what sounds to use and how to structure it out and how to build out your track. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also please subscribe if you are not yet subscribed. And finally, if you are truly looking to improve your mixing skills, then check out my Modern Mix Academy. This is a full online mixing course that I created that will help you make some of the best records of your life from the comfort of your own home. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.